You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's showtime. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's showtime. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time.
It's game week, but it's also playoff week. But some things are genuinely bigger than football. And, I know we've got the Buffalo Bills this weekend. I know there's so much to get to about the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. But in case anyone isn't aware, DeMar Hamlin has been sent home from, I think he was last in Buffalo General Hospital or something along those lines. And it's just amazing and remarkable that he's, still obviously got a long road to recovery, but he is on his way home. Solely that can only be good news. And before I throw it over to you, I didn't know the D Gordon story, the one you told at the end of the last episode. For anyone who hasn't seen the episode, obviously go back and check it out. But watching that home run, obviously I know the circumstances behind it, but watching the home run, even I was quite choked up because again, it's just like you said, there's so many oh my days moments. There's so many fitting sports moments in general, or just not the sports moments. So many moments in life where things just click and connect. And yeah, that D Gordon moment alongside the Hines moment against the Patriots were just beautiful to see. So Mr. Charlie Touche, how are you?
Yo, man, I seen the deep man. Jose Fernandez was a dude, bro. So it was a big deal. It wasn't just he meant so much to the city of Miami. He was a refugee from Cuba, and his story of how he got to the United States was crazy in itself. Best player on the Miami Marlins at the time. Jose Fernandez had a story about when he got to, I want to say he came up through Mexico. When he got away from Cuba, he came up through Mexico and ended up in Texas. Was the first state that he got to from the United States. And he was in the bathroom, the men's bathroom, and people was washing their hands after they used the bathroom, and he just stayed in the bathroom watching people dry their hands because there's a hand dryer, like a and he said he just stood there for like 10 minutes and just watched because he didn't understand how this machine worked. And that was his first story about entering the United States. So when we lost Jose Fernandez, it was a real thing. It was tough. And then D Gordon was just magical. And there's so many things in sports that has happened like that. And I can't remember all of them. There's been more. And I don't know if you like it to be more because you have to go through the circumstances to get there. So, but Kadeem, on this podcast, we got Laramie Tunsil Day. We have Don Shula Day. And we're going to introduce a new day. Probably not a day, but it should be acknowledged. Rob Conrad. A little bit before your time, Kadeem. He was a Miami Dolphin between 1999 and 2004. Rob Conrad was the fullback for the Miami Dolphins. One those teams where probably a lot of us remember the most, when the end of Marino transition, where we still should have a pretty good team type stuff. And Rob Conrad was fishing. This is in 2015. Rob Conrad was fishing by himself on his boat and was thrown overboard on his own boat. He was the only one on the boat, and the boat got away from him. He couldn't make it back to the boat. And anyone who Googles Rob Conrad, former Miami Dolphin, and that's why we're bringing it up. I want to say 7 years. Oh, well, 8 years ago to the week, he swam 27 miles, 16 hours to save his life. There's video on YouTube. And I just wanted to acknowledge Rob Conrad Week here on Go Time Dolphins, former Miami Dolphin. Bro, you said you could swim, right, Kadeem?
See, I never said I could swim, but I can swim.
Bro, can you imagine a 16-hour swim, bro? 27 miles?
I can't even imagine a 16-hour walk, let alone a 16-hour swim. And I assume it's one of the situations where, you know, your body at some point just it shuts down and it starts going on pure instinct, like, you know, whole fight or flight. And that's just, if you stop, you're going to die. Just don't stop. And obviously it's a situation as well where I don't know where he was exactly, but I would assume everywhere he looked around is just water. You're just swimming in direction, just hoping for the best.
Bro, so yeah, being the resident fisherman on this podcast, you get so far out, you can't even see the shore anymore. And if anyone who's ever been on a boat and you go out to just even fishing off the shore or off the coast, you look back to the beach and say, hey, do you think you could swim that from here? You know what I'm saying? Hey, do you think you could make it from here? And a lot of us probably say, yeah. And then I always look, I'm like, bro, I could make that from where we are now, which is probably like 3 miles, 4 miles. But I wouldn't want to do it 3 miles, 4 miles out. 27 miles, 16 hours. There's video of him on YouTube when he gets rescued by the cops. Well, it's not a rescue when the cops talk to him because he knocked on, he got to shore, knocked on a person's house. He was naked, essentially, knocked on the house door, and they're like, yo, what's going on? There's a naked man at my door. So they call the cops. Turns out he didn't have a vest on. He leaned over, the boat got away. They found the boat in the Bahamas later. Crazy. It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm your boy, Charlie Touche. I got my co-host, Kadeem Simmons, with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast. And we got some news, Kadeem. And
Before we get into the news, I have a question to ask you.
Go ahead.
You've seen Titanic, right?
Come back. Yeah, I seen it, man.
Do you reckon Jack or Leonardo DiCaprio's character could have fit on the plank of wood?
I can't remember how big the wood was, but maybe.
I think, so obviously our generation got to a point where we watched that movie and at the end we're just like, yo, she could have scooched up a bit and let him on. And I think some people ended up doing a test, and there's a way that he could have fit on the plank of wood, but it would have been very complex and probably didn't have the time. So my whole thing with that is, if they just took it in turns and kind of swapped, then maybe he might not have died. But it's a movie, and yeah, obviously you talking about being stuck at sea, all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to get it out there.
Well, when you brought up the Titanic, I thought you were going to talk about the Dolphins. Yo, this is not good. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know where you was going with the Titanic, but it's a segue. And we did not record on our usual schedule because we knew some news was imminent. And I was actually on the last podcast saying the NFL is rigged, and it's so rigged that they're going to clear Tua so they can have a game where it's Tua versus Josh Allen, the comeback, and all the other good stuff. But today we got some news, Kadeem. What was the news?
That QB1 Tua Tagovailoa has not been cleared to play against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. He hasn't essentially progressed to a far enough stage in the concussion protocol, which will basically have him fit, ready, and healthy enough to play on Sunday. And it's funny you say that. You said on the last podcast that the NFL was rigged and that Tua would be healthy, because what I'm seeing on social media is a lot of Dolphins fans saying that the NFL is rigged to a point where Tua isn't playing on Sunday. And I believe when Mike McDaniel was asked about Tua and how he's feeling and all that kind of stuff, his wording left a lot of people more confused than anything, because he's essentially said that Tua didn't have any setbacks. It's just compound variables. And people are like, what does that actually mean? If he hasn't taken any setbacks, but he's still not cleared, and if anything, his concussion against the Bengals was a lot worse than the one against the Packers, then why is he not back yet? So before I delve into my opinion and belief around that, what do you make of Mike McDaniel's wording? And I'm not saying you've changed your mind, say that the NFL is rigged the other way, but your whole take on this Tua situation.
So we remember the Bengals concussion. The thing is, he was cleared that Saturday. We just didn't play him that Sunday. So Tua was cleared, I want to say, the Sunday for the Vikings game, and we didn't play him. And then he came back against Pittsburgh. So the conversation was, well, he's cleared, but he didn't practice all week, and he was cleared on Saturday, and the game is Sunday, so he's not playing. So what I make of the comments today is that not the NFL is not rigged, because Mike McDaniel ruled out Tua, not the NFL. Not the NFL say, oh, he's not cleared to play, so they're going to rule him out. He can still be cleared this week. The NFL can still clear him sometime this week. Now, coach has been consistent with his message, like, yo, if you don't practice, I'm not playing you. The whole script is in, and there's been players that have missed practice for a whole week that came back on a Friday or a Saturday that he hasn't played. This is what Coach McDrip is saying. So because Wednesday is the day that you prep for the game, and the whole install starts on Wednesday, Coach is saying Tua is out because we're moving on without him, even if he gets ruled back. He didn't say even if he gets cleared, we're still going to rule him out. But he's ruled out because this is the day we install. So if the NFL mess around and clears him on a Friday or a Saturday, it's going to be a whole new conversation of, yo, it's the playoffs. Tua was cleared. Why aren't you playing him? Someone's gonna say it, and coach is gonna say he hasn't practiced all week, and he hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. I'm not sure. A couple weeks. He hasn't practiced in a couple weeks, and you just want this guy to play a game like full throttle. Buffalo's gonna be on geek mode, and you want us to throw him in the Buffalo without 2 weeks of practice? I don't know. So now that's what I made of the comments.
So then you said, so in this scenario, Tua gets cleared, say Friday. I'll be generous. Tua get cleared on Friday, yeah?
Yeah.
What do you say to someone? So I'm going to be the other side of the argument. Tua's been the start of all season. Tua knows the playbook. Why not just throw Tua in and run some plays? What do you say to that?
So I wasn't arguing. You just asked me what I made of Coach McDaniel's arguments. I mean, of his words. So that's what I made of Coach's words. Now, if you ask me, this is not Buffalo week, the first game of Buffalo versus the Cincinnati game. This is not, did Tua have a concussion against Buffalo? Should we play him against Cincinnati 4 days later? It looked kind of bad. Ataxia. He was wobbling. He lost his legs. Should we play him against Cincinnati? That's not this. We don't know if Tua had a concussion against Buffalo or not. We all have our opinions. Doctors said he didn't have a concussion. And me and you sat on this show and said, I don't know, bro. That looked pretty bad if it wasn't a concussion. We would not play him 4 days later against Cincinnati. That's what we said on this podcast. Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. Charlie Touche, Kadeem Simmons, for the fans, by the fans. We said that on this podcast. This is different, Kadeem. This is Tua actually having a concussion and sitting out the requisite weeks and being cleared in this example. So if he is cleared, Kadeem, I will 100% play him, regardless of when he's cleared. If he's cleared Sunday morning, I'm playing Tua, bro. The doctor said you're good to go. So that means the coach can say you're good to go. There's a difference between not sure if he had this concussion and we don't know what that really was. Should we play him 4 days later? To you've had a concussion, but the doctor says you're okay now. There's a difference.
So even with no practice this week, doesn't know the game plan, obviously knows the game book or the playbook, I should say. You're, and I want to use my words correctly. I don't want to say you're willing to risk it all, but essentially you are willing to say, listen, it's one game, Tua go out there and we'll just essentially play on the fly.
We could say risk it all. What is risk it though? What do you mean risk it though? When you say
risk
it all,
as in risk this one game, in terms of yes, we've had a game plan with Skyler. Everyone knows the Sky plan. Everyone knows the game plan, but we're just going to essentially call the entire game on the fly, and let's see how good your guys' memory is, because when I just called in plays from whatever.
All right. So in that sense of risk it all, 100% I'm willing to risk it, because I believe a fully healthy Tua with no game script is better than a fully healthy Skyler with the best game script in the world. So yes, I'm willing to risk it. And I think the team will believe we have a better chance of winning. This is not talking about anyone's health, but we have a better chance of winning with Tua with zero practice in 2 weeks than with Skyler and Teddy combined with all the practice in 2 weeks in reality. Now, for someone who's listening and saying, oh, that's inconsiderate and you should be mindful of Tua's health, why would you do that? That's me saying the doctor cleared him. So at what point do we play a player if the doctor has cleared him? The doctor cleared him to play. Hey, you're safe now. You're fine. You can play again. Why would I say to this player, hey, the doctor said you're good, but I don't believe you're good, so you're not going to play until I say you're able to play? I don't understand that logic. So again, that goes back to, can he play or can he not? If he cannot play, I'm not playing him. It's that simple. The only issue we had before, Kadeem, was we don't know what this was in Buffalo before. Was it a concussion? Was it not a concussion? It looked too bad. It was not aesthetically pleasing, and I wasn't chancing it at all. That's simple, and that's how we got there. Then he suffered a concussion against Cincinnati. I hated to see that, and I wish he didn't play that game. And we have the receipts. We're on record saying, nah, Tua shouldn't play that game. So, yeah, if he gets cleared, doesn't matter when he gets cleared. He can get cleared on the plane on the way over there. If you watch the McDaniel media avails today, I can't say availability. So if you listen to,
we need a new word, but you just don't say availability, and maybe it's just avails.
Yeah,
are you avails? Was he avails?
Man, listen. Coach was talking to the press today, and if you've seen it, he said there was a question: is Tua flying with the team? Is he cleared to fly? He's not clear for this. He's not clear for football activities with his teammates. Is exactly what coach said. So can he fly with the team? If he can fly with the team, Kadeem, and they let him fly with the team, and Sunday morning he's cleared, I hope he packed his pads. That's all I'm saying. Like, yeah, he should play if the doctor's clear. That's all I'm saying.
I think it definitely raises a genuine discussion, because we've heard Tyreek Hill essentially say on record that, and maybe he just chose his words poorly, but the team plays harder with Tua. And, I don't think I say I don't think people are generally fickle and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I think at this point, if you believe that the Dolphins have a better chance of playing, with Skyler or Teddy than they do with Tua, then I don't know what you've seen this season, and I would love to know what you're smoking / drinking. 'Cause that sounds amazing.
He said because it sounds amazing.
But there's generally there's a discussion to be had around, even if you throw Tua out there, and again you say to the team, we're going to run back the game plan against Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. So I know you guys have learned all of these plays. I know we've gone through all of these scenarios. We're just going to essentially run back these plays, and if anything, to play backyard football or sandlot football. I don't know which is the more freestyle version of whatever you guys play. And we're just going to say, Tyreek run a dig route, Jalen run this route, and if one of you guys
Nah,
are
that's not how it's gonna work, man. They're not gonna be drawn.
Dude, this is my story. Let me finish my story, man. And again, it's not going to be that, that chaotic. But again, it's a whole, you don't. And I know we are on record, or more say you are on record, of saying what the Dolphins are going to do over the next essentially 12 months, what they're going to win, all that kind of stuff. But also, realistically, there's no guarantee that the Dolphins make the playoffs again with Tua, simply because you never know what happens. And this is the last time that this team are going to meet the playoffs, because the guys are obviously leaving and stuff like that. So, listen, I'm sure there'll be some who, if Tua is available to play, I'm not saying they're going to knock on the coach's door and say, yo, you might want to put Us in there. But in the back of the mind, they'll be like, yo, just at least have him on the bench and just, allow him to play. Or do you do it? Or this is me just freestyling and messing around. Obviously, we spoke about Bret Hart the other day, kind of like a entry 30 Royal Rumble, and like the glass smashes. Whose music is that? It's Tua! And Tua just runs out, helmet on, pads on. In Buffalo, the crowd's going wild. Oh my God! It's Tua Tagovailoa! Beat him! It's Tua! By God! Like you get something like that, and like we've all seen it. If you watch wrestling or Royal Rumble, no one, like, for me growing up, one of the most famous is John Cena, I think, in New York, number 30. I remember when Edge returned a couple of years ago, like no one expects it. Listen, it could be quite fun, just a wrestling to a Royal Rumble situation. He just, comes in fourth quarter, throws a touchdown, Dolphins win.
Fourth quarter game gonna be out of reach by the fourth quarter. he better come in on the fourth play, because that fourth quarter is gonna be out of reach by then.
I'm on record saying that if Tua can't play, then just fly out 10 minutes beforehand and keep the engine running.
You said come in fourth quarter. Listen, bro, those Royal Rumble entrances, those things were epic, bro. Like, you just wait for the music. Who we got? You feel me? I told you I was watching something on Bret Hart the other day before you brought it up, bro. I didn't know. I used to like Shawn Michaels, and like I didn't know he was such a prick, bro.
Oh, 100%.
Like no, I'm talking about like you see his character when you in wrestling, but I didn't know in real life he was like a scumbag. I didn't know that, bro.
Yeah, like you listen to a lot of podcasts and I guess even stories and the backstage workings of WWF with Shawn and Bret and all that kind of stuff. Shawn Michaels was just not a nice person, and especially in the build up to the Survivor Series, I think 97 match, where the Montreal Screwjob and stuff like that. The personal insults Shawn and Bret were throwing at each other were like bad. I believe Shawn Michaels accused Bret of cheating on his wife, which didn't go down well. I believe Bret has this really famous quote, which I want to find because it's like quite infamous. Something like, everyone has had sunny days, which was in reference to I think Sean was. You know what? Let me get that exact reference and you finish your point. Sorry.
Yeah, not a real point, but I should take that back. Scumbag for me is reserved for scumbags. He's like a dirtbag. You know what I'm saying? I guess this guy's a dirtbag. You know what I'm saying? But scumbags are reserved for worse than dirtbags. But yeah, I didn't know Shawn Michaels was in that category. Unfortunately, he is. So Kadeem, bro, listen, you know I'm a Christian and I believe in God, you know, so I could take y'all to church real quick, but I won't. And I'm on record saying I like what is going on in Buffalo right now. I have a heart. I'm a human being. I get chills when I see stuff. The images of what's going on in Buffalo, the Damar Hamlin story, I'm consumed by it. Like I need more coverage on it. What the city has been through in the past year. I actually know people not outside of LB. LB's up there right now, but I know other people in Buffalo, and I've had to check up on them multiple times this year. Like, hey, you all right? Hey, I heard this happen. You all right? Hey, I heard that happen. You all right? I was like, dang, I keep checking up on these people in Buffalo. That's a lot. And I feel like the stage is set, bro, for one of the best movies you can possibly watch. The best storylines. Like even in a movie, they wouldn't script it like this because it's not real. And I feel like the game for the Dolphins without Tua playing Buffalo, it's not even a game. You might as well hang it up, in my opinion. And I'm one of the most optimistic people you're going to come across. The glass is always half full, right? I can't see it this week. I just see Buffalo running through us. And if I'm wrong, I would love to come back on the podcast and say, yo, Dolphins pulled it off. I was wrong. But I'm going to tell you now, Buffalo fans, if y'all beat us, y'all better win the Super Bowl. Like, this is the only year you get Charlie Touche's support and saying, yo, I like it, Buffalo. You're going to have Damar Hamlin in the stands. He was just discharged from the hospital. He's going to be in the press box. They're going to go to him with the camera. He's going to be doing whatever he's doing. The crowd's going to go nutty, bro. Or he might be on the sideline. I doubt he's on the sideline. So he's probably going to be in the suite. You feel me? Oh, my goodness, bro. The Dolphins are up against the impossible in this game. What do you think the scene is going to be like when we go out there on Sunday?
I don't think it will be as raw and as emotional as what New England had when they played Buffalo last week. But it's definitely going to be a very fired up atmosphere, a very fired up team, a very, like you said, geeked out. Because again, I think at this point they're playing on like the playing on a cause that's bigger than themselves, if that makes sense. This is no longer just about trying to win a ring because we want to win a ring. It's about, finishing a story which, if anything, started before Damar Hamlin, like you said, with what's happened in Buffalo over the past few months. It's one of those situations where, sometimes you have such a wave of, I guess, divine intervention is the best word I can think of right now, where it's just like everything is going for you, even though I'm gonna try this again. Even though bad stuff is happening, it's like God is testing you in a way that when you get to the end of this journey, it's like, yeah, all of that stuff, like it culminates in such a celebration. But it would be what, Buffalo's first Super Bowl?
Yeah, they never
Yeah,
they went to
four
3
in a,
back
it
to
was four,
back to
it was
back.
4 in a row.
I know for sure it was 3 in a row. I don't know
Oh,
if it could have been 4. If it was 4 in a row, that's even crazy. And that's another thing, Kadeem. So for those who don't know, one of my brothers is a Buffalo Bills fan. I grew up with a Buffalo Bills fan in the house, in the family. And there were teams, Buffalo teams, Marv Levy, Don Beebe, Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, where those dudes Bill Polian was the GM. Bro, those dudes were some solid individuals, solid people. You know what I'm saying? Solid human beings. But as a child, you just root against your rival. You know what I'm saying? But Jim Kelly, how could I forget him, right? So Jim Kelly, awesome person. Everyone knows his story. I would have loved for them to get one back then, because now it's my time as an adult, and I don't want to see y'all get too many of these things, because I got a team too. So all that being said, Kadeem, you remember Di Maria for Argentina?
Don't ask.
Hey, listen, I just got to make sure we're on the same page here, because you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a casual soccer fan. So Di Maria was in the World Cup, and he scored against France, and it was, what was it, 2-0 or 3-0?
That was 2-0.
It was 2-0 at the time. Dude is on the pitch crying. I'm like, bruh, I ain't gonna lie, I never seen anyone cry during the game. I don't think I've ever seen anyone cry during the actual game while the game is still going on without injury. Like, yo, you got to get your emotions in check, bro. Like, it's not over with. We still got work we got to do. I've never seen that. And then they pulled him, they subbed him out, and there was a third goal. And then he was on the sideline now. He was crying like, oh my goodness, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And he's crying. I'm like, bro, get it together. The game's not over. And that's what I feel like Buffalo went through last week with the Patriots. And I'm like, dang, live it up. Get the chills. Appreciate what's going on right now, right? It's go time, Dolphins. But Buffalo, appreciate what's going on right now. But when I thought Tua was coming back, Kadeem, I knew that if your emotions aren't in the right place, Buffalo, you can let them get the best of you. You know what I'm saying? And then now you're not really riding this wave the way you're supposed to. And I thought the Dolphins had a chance to sneak in and catch them on an emotional trip, so to speak, and take one from them, because they're not playing the best football right now. They're really not. So did you find what you're looking for?
I found everything I'm looking for. So Buffalo did indeed lose 4 games in a row, or 4 Super Bowls in a row, which is harsh. Painful.
So was it 3 to the Cowboys, 1 to San Fran? Because I thought the Cowboys won 3 in a row. Did they not?
Dude, I didn't go that far into it. I'm looking at Google, and it says, yeah, the Buffalo Bills on this date in 1994, the Bills fell to the Cowboys in Super Bowl. It was Buffalo's 4th Super Bowl lost in 4 seasons. Like, I didn't find out who won those games. I don't care about that. I can find out who won those games. Yeah. So, and I'm saying about Buffalo, it's given everything they've been through. Yeah, 4 Super Bowls, defeats in a row. This would be a fitting way to end that and to win there first. Because, not to get too far into it, and this is go time Dolphins. If they don't win it this year, there comes a point where it's like, yo, we're never going to win this, because, like, what more needs to happen? So, let's have a look. Super Bowl years. Very, very quickly. I think it was Giants 1 year. So Giants in 1990.
Oh, that's Jeff Hostetler.
91 was Washington.
They lost the Bills lost to Washington in 91.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at according to Wikipedia. The Bills looked to avenge a heartbreaking Super Bowl loss a year earlier by playing the Washington name. It was not to be. Washington opened up a 17-0 halftime lead and never looked back, handing the Bills a 37-24 loss. Then I believe after that, they had the Cowboys, and then after the Cowboys, they had the Cowboys again. So yeah, Giants, Washington, Dallas.
I think that Jeff Hostetler Super Bowl was he came in for Phil Simms, Chris Simms' dad. I think Phil Simms was the quarterback of that team, and then he got hurt maybe, and Hostetler came in and won that Super Bowl. Crazy. Hey, Touche's football knowledge runs pretty deep. I ain't gonna lie. Uh, I need to start channeling it and putting it into something good though, like a
Like,
podcast.
like I say, yeah, like a podcast. Like, imagine a platform to do a podcast. That'd be so amazing. Just as we discuss on this podcast about random NFL stuff, let's just talk about that. Don't want to take it back here, but Mike McDaniel was asked in his press conference about Tua's long-term health.
Mhm.
There are people on social media who have essentially seen this as the end of Tua in Miami. Again, you're not a doctor, you're not a neurosurgeon, you don't have his medical chart in front of you right now. I guess essentially gut feeling mixed with, I guess, common sense and some rational thinking. Does Tua play football again, and does he start for the Dolphins next year?
Yes and yes. He plays football again. He starts for the Dolphins. We go to the Super Bowl. Charlie Touche's right, and I know it's looking. And if we're being for real, the trajectory is right on. We're on par still. Like we're going in the way that I don't want to see it like this. I didn't want to go 9-8. I would have preferred to go to the second round or AFC Championship and lose and then win it next year. But I said 3 years ago the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl with Tua during his rookie contract, and I believe it's going to be 2024. That is exactly what I said. We'll start pulling receipts. Yeah. Here's the thing, though, Kadeem. I don't want to minimize the severity of concussions, though. Just because I think he's still going to play and just because I think he's going to be the Dolphins quarterback next year doesn't mean I don't think these concussions should be taken seriously. And if I'm being honest with you, there was no topic that the naysayers could bring up that I felt like had real substance to it. Tua can't throw the deep ball. I didn't believe that because I believe prove it. And then he proved he could throw the deep ball. Can't play in cold weather. I didn't believe that either. Then he plays in cold weather. So there's a lot of things that the naysayers said, and I'm like, bro, y'all are just talking out the side of your neck. Here's my thing, though. I am concerned about Tua's concussions. Doesn't mean I think he should stop playing football, but I do believe like this can be a serious issue that has to be monitored now. It's no longer, Tua's not injury prone, because I don't think he's injury prone. Like every quarterback has had their thumb messed up, their hand messed up by hitting a helmet or hitting someone's hand. That's happened to Tua. He was supposed to play through it. The coach didn't let him play. Every quarterback has had banged up ribs and had to throw a flap jacket on, right? It's happened to Tua. He was going to play through it. Coach didn't let him play. So I don't believe you can attribute that to him being injury prone. But concussions are a little bit different. We haven't had to have this conversation in the previous 3 seasons with Tua. So now that we're talking about it now, yes, I acknowledge, this is, I don't like this. This is a concern for me. Like CTE is real. And, but that's the only thing that I see with Tua is like, this is the only thing that I feel like this is an issue. Everything else, top 5 quarterback in the league. Cannot wait for quarterback rankings.
It's a situation, I think. So Mike McDaniel said, all I care about is Tua today and his health. I believe Jalen Waddle was asked, about Tua's long-term future, and he was like, I'm not the person to ask. Listen, I would not be surprised if Tua has a different helmet next year, one similar to the one that Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh wears. I know a lot of people have rightfully said that, again, this is what happens when you put, your franchise quarterback behind the 27th O-line in the league. Now, we've joked in the past and said, the Dolphins O-line last year wasn't 32nd ranked. It was 40th, probably even worse. And, 27th at that time would have been, oh my days, this is the best thing in the whole entire world. This is brilliant. Obviously, it needs to be improved. Obviously, you would like to think the Dolphins would once again address it in the offseason. Would have been lovely to address it with a first round pick, but Stephen Ross is going to Stephen Ross, is what it is. You would like to think that even what's being said about Tua today, and the fact that he was in for a shout to play against and it might have been a very slim shout, it might have been a whisper. He was in with a whisper to play against Buffalo, but the fact that that was a possibility would make you think that actually, yeah, he's going to be okay. It's a situation where, as many people have read and many people have spoken about, once you suffer one concussion, you're much more likely to suffer another one, especially in such a short space of time. It might be a situation in which he doesn't play again this season, assuming the Dolphins lose against Buffalo, and the next time he sees the field will be, they might even sit him out against what do you call it, in the preseason. So he might not see a genuine snap per se until week 1 next year. And if that's the case, by then his brain might have legitimately fully healed, and that doesn't mean he's never going to have a concussion again, but he's a lot less likely to have a concussion. And like I mentioned on this podcast before, a lot of wrestling talk recently, but as a wrestling fan, I've seen Bryan Danielson and Christian Cage come basically unretire from concussion issues. That took years. Tua doesn't have years. But actually, you know what? In saying that, we said years due to concussions. Jalen Phillips alone. Jalen Phillips retired from football because of concussion. Returned, and there is zero talk about that kid suffering another one. Not saying he won't, but even when the Dolphins drafted Jalen Phillips, it was like, oh, that's not very smart. Kids and Jalen Phillips is fine. Jalen Phillips has had another amazing year. So if anyone needs to look at someone in the Dolphins building alone, then it's a matter of, there's definitely hope that Tua returns from his current concussion issues and has a fully healthy career.
Well said, Kadeem. You my dog for that one. You pulled that one from left field. I forgot about Jalen Phillips having concussion issues, and you would think DN is more susceptible to hitting his head than a protected quarterback in this year's NFL. So kudos to Kadeem for pulling that one from wherever he pulled that one at. But yeah, man, that's a solid take. We about to get into bonus time, man. Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive. Test negative. For Kadeem Simmons, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's showtime. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's showtime. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's showtime. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time.
So before we truly delve into bonus time, just wanted to finish that Shawn Michaels Bret Hart thing, which obviously caused so much tension. So essentially, during this whole back and forth prior to the Survivor Series 97, I knew it was 97. Shawn Michaels said to Bret Hart, you couldn't go 10 minutes in any situation, if you know what I mean. And even though lately you've had some sunny days, my friend, you still can't get the job done. Basically, Shawn Michaels accused live on air of Bret Hart having an affair with not so much a wrestler, but an on-screen talent called Sonny. This essentially led to Bret Hart and his wife getting a divorce. So yeah, Shawn Michaels knew how to politic back in the day. It's for how amazing he is and was as a wrestler, he wasn't the best person in the whole entire world.
As an entertainer too, like the man was like, he was talented. It was crazy to me. And the reason I brought up the Bret Hart thing was because even in the midst of Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart tried to bury the hatchet. Well, if it's not burying the hatchet, I don't know why they say bury the hatchet, bro. Why they say bury the hatchet? There's a history to bury the hatchet.
Let's
There's
have a
got to
look.
be a hatchet. Is that like a hatchet that got some blood on it, so they got to bury it so no one finds it, so we don't dig it up again? Is that why they say bury the hatchet? Like bury the hatchet. We got to bury the hatchet. This is the murder weapon. Bury the hatchet. Don't bring it up.
Okay,
We try to.
so according to Wikipedia, it is an American English idiom meaning to make peace. The phrase is an allusion to the figurative of literal practice. Sorry, to the figurative or literal practice of putting away weapons and the secession of hostiles among or by Native Americans in the Eastern United States. So yeah,
I can see that. So I won't say bury the hatchet no more, but they try to make peace, right? So Bret Hart tried to make peace, and he went to Shawn Michaels, being the bigger person. Like, hey, look, man, and he said, "I just want you to know, if we ever have to share the ring again, I know we have our issues and our discrepancies, but just know I would never bring that in the ring. I would never put your health and protect you in everything that we do in the ring. And you need to know that. And I just wanted to tell you, man to man." And Shawn Michaels said, "If we ever get in the ring again and share the ring, I need to tell you, Bret, that I don't share the same sentiment." Like you, bro, bro, you know I don't curse, Kadeem, but what? But hey, man, Shawn Michaels a piece of work, bro. So nah, man, I don't rock with him no more, man. I can't. Heartbreak Kid, can't do it.
you speak about pieces of work, and it's not quite the amazing transition or segue that I would like. But have you seen the first NFLPA all team, all pro all team?
Mm-mm.
How many Dolphin players do you think made the all team?
All pro team?
Yeah,
All pro team. 2.
which one do you think made it?
Tyreek Hill. And that's it.
Cool. So you're wrong. No Dolphin players made it, and they had Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson as the wide receivers. Tyreek Hill did not make it.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams.
I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that.
Going through the full list, and I'll keep it brief. On offense, Mahomes at quarterback, Josh Jacobs at running back, Carl Juszczyk at fullback, wide receivers Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams, tight end Travis Kelce, left tackle Trent Williams, Joe Bitonio, Jason Kelce, Zach Martin, Lane Johnson. Other noticeable players, I guess. Interior defensive lineman Chris Jones and Aaron Donald. Nose tackle Dexter Lawrence. Cornerbacks Pat Surtain and Darius Slay. And then safeties, free safety Minka and strong safety Derwin James. And actually, very quickly, talking about Pat Surtain, you see Surtain's leaving the Dolphins.
Pat Surtain Sr.
Yes, Pat Surtain Sr., yes.
is becoming the secondary coach at Florida State University.
So, yeah, listen, I'm sure there'll be plenty of movement in the Dolphins coaching staff. Just off season, we know of one that is essentially one that is essentially enforced in Pat Surtain Senior. But yeah, Tyreek Hill not making the All Pro team is quite it's quite interesting to say the least. And your face when it's it is what it is. What can you do?
Oopsie.